Hello, I'm SpurseyWX, also known as Jeffrey, and here I'm going to teach you how I make my probabilistic thunderstorm outlooks like so. Now, what I use is an app called Paint.net, and it's honestly really useful for this. It has everything I need to make good outlooks, and it's very easy to use. To start off with, I will show you how I make the outlines instead of jumping straight into actual forecasting. So usually what I do is I'll have a light gray, which dictates a below 1% to 1% chance of a thunderstorm, a dark gray, which dictates a 1 to 5% chance, brown, which dictates a 5 to 10, so on, orange 10 to 15, and you can just continue it on and on. Now, the main things you're going to use is probably the color picker tool, which is K. It just copies the color you have equipped. Hold on, I do not have the color wheel out. I don't know why it's not. There we go. There it is. Colors. Here we go. I don't know why that wasn't there before. So I always start with the light gray because it's just the lowest level. It's easiest. Now, what I use is not the traditional brush tool. Hold on. I need to set this to solid. But I use the line tool, which the shortcut key is O, which allows me to draw lines like this. And that's how I make these smooth circular outlooks without like bumps and stuff. Another main thing is you're going to want to turn an alignized rendering to on, because if it's anti-analyzed, you know what happens is it gets very blurry like this. You don't want that. You want it to be smooth and easy to read. See the difference here? Yeah. Okay. Now, what you're going to want to do next is with the line tool. Well, first there are two modes. The straight line mode, which is what the SPC uses if you want to be more like the SPC, and the spline mode. I usually don't use the Bezier mode. There's one more, but it's really impractical. It's kind of like smooth curves like this. I don't use this for forecasting. I mean, there are some scenarios where it'd be useful, but personally I don't use it. I always use the spline tool, most notably for thunderstorm forecasts. Sometimes I use the straight line mode, but that's mainly on categorical. Once you have like your area selected here, just make a little circle, considering we're not forecasting actual severe weather. The place doesn't matter. Just make a circle on your map like this. This will be... Now you have a outline for this. One thing I should mention is make sure you're on a second layer, because it's way easier. If you're on one layer, when you go to fill this in, you'll end up having to click on each county and it wouldn't look accurate and opaque like it would, like this. Now, normally, someone would have this done, fill that in, then grab the next color, and then start on this. But there is a problem with that. Here, let me just show you when I fill this in. Is this color the same as this, what I selected? That's because the opacities are overlapping. So what you're going to want to do is you're not going to want to fill this until you're done with all your outlooks. It makes it so much easier. The colors are better and you don't need to do extra steps to make the colors correct. I'm going to make a brief 1 to 5% here. And done. And last but not least, I'm going to make a 5%. Alright, now that I have this, I fill it in order, going from N to O, hold on. There must be, oh yeah, there's a hole. Whoops. Can't have that happen. I fill it in from the center going outward because it prevents that type of fracturing as seen before. Now you have this, it looks clean, it's not like the colors aren't messed up from what you choose from here. Now I'm going to show you how to do sig risks. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go back to your line tool and then go down to your colors. You're going to want to select all black and then don't make it opaque, make it full. And then for your second color, select this. It doesn't matter which color it is as long as the opacity is at 0. Now, I prefer to do these on a third layer because if I do this on this, when I go to fill in the SIGs, I would have to click it multiple times and it might look weird. It's the same concept as making a second layer for the risk outlines. Now, what you're going to want to do is just make your circle, which will show like where the SIG area is. Just say there's like, it'll just be like this. There's no real strategy. I'm just kind of doing this as a tutorial. Alright, now that you have what you want your SIG to be like, you're going to want to go up to your fill. And for what I do is for thunderstorm probabilistic risks, considering this isn't categorical, I use the dash vertical to indicate a 5% chance of a strong thunderstorm. Dashed upward diagonal, 10%. Light upward diagonal is 20, and last but not least, the outline diamond is 30. Now, you don't drag a line like this. That doesn't work like that. You're going to want to select what you want to do here. Go back to your fill tool. And the reason you have this as black and white, when you fill this in, especially since it's on another layer, you can see how it's easier and it just covers that up. It fills in the SIG for you. Now that you know how to draw these like how I do, you can come up with your own style. You don't have to use this at all. To forecast actual severe weather, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your browser and or whatever you use to access models. I use Pivotal Weather. You can use Weatherwise has models, Radar Omega has models, College of DuPage, the official SPC website, but I prefer Pivotal Weather. It is frankly the easiest for me. In the day 1 to day 2 range, that's where all of your convection allowing models are, which are more in-depth and more accurate than your broad global models or regional ones. And you're mainly going to be using these models when it comes to risks you're making day 1, day 2, and not necessarily day 3. Very few models reach to day 3, like the NOM 3 kilometer CONUS, RRFS, and some of the experimental models, which are not, these aren't going to be right. RRFS is kind of right, and NOM 3 kilometer, honestly, I think RRFS is better than NOM 3 kilometer, so. Long range forecasting. This is where you're going to want to use the global models. These can actually reach further out than 2 to 3 days. And honestly, you're probably not going to want to forecast past run hour 150 because then anything you make has a pretty high chance of not happening due to changes in the models. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on how to read and analyze models. That will be for another video or tutorial if requested. But for now, that's the basics on how I draw my outlooks. If you want the tutorial on how to read models, just ask and I will most likely make it when I decide not to procrastinate. Thanks for watching. Now maybe our outlook graphics will look better, you know, more accurate maybe, or if you're just starting, how to get started.